I had a mentor for years, and he ended every sales call with the same thing, and it was this: remember, you will never ever regret doing the very best you can every single day.
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Sell the Truth podcast. I am your host, Eli Stoehr. Man, I'm really excited to dive into this episode. I've got a gentleman who, he's newer to our sales team, but he's not new to sales. He's got a lot of wisdom, a lot of things that I've already learned from you. And man, he's just a stone cold killer when it comes to sales. So with that, I want to introduce you guys to Jeff Faulhaber, right?
Yeah,
That's how you say that, right? Faulhaber.
You got it.
Yeah,
everybody.
Jeff came to me actually on LinkedIn, just messaged me one day and said, "Hey man, I see you guys are looking for a sales role, and I've got a bit of a tech background, no construction, but tech background." And I'm like, "Dude, that's intriguing." So welcome, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Glad you're able to jump on the podcast and share a little bit of your wisdom.
My first podcast ever. So
dude, you're gonna crush it.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna do a shout out. Is that cool?
Of course.
I'm gonna do a shout out to Julia and Drew and my wife Rose.
Oh man. I tell you, man, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my wife and her support.
Yeah.
So I would assume.
And I'm telling you, man, career-wise, of course, on a personal level, that's it's definitely the case. But career-wise, like she's an extension of me, right? Like I wouldn't be able to do what I do without her. And I've always told everybody, I think I told you this when we first met or when we first spoke. She's an awesome sales wife. She's kind of like my third sales manager, if you will. So.
I love it, dude. I love it. Yeah. It's crazy, man. Like I give my wife as much. I mean, she just supports me so much throughout everything that I do, and like she's been here. I've known her longer than I've known Brian. I've known Brian for a long time. Like I've been with my wife for a long time now. We've been only married for a couple of years, but she's just for everything. She's been so supportive. So it's just something. As a salesperson, right? It's like you need that.
You really do, because I've worked with other sales folks who don't have that in their significant other, and it shows. You can see it. So we're very blessed and lucky. And your wife's got a great name, Angel.
Yeah, she does.
Great name. Yeah, love that name.
Yes, she does. Love you, Angel. Appreciate you. Best wife in the world. So with that, guys, I want to dive into. We were having this conversation the other day about introverts versus extroverts, right? And like for me, I would consider myself, at least growing up, like I've always been a strong introvert, and I look at it as like, when I get really tired, how do I go back and fill my cup? And I have a close friend who. He is an extreme extrovert. I love him.
Yeah.
His name is Ben. He is like a really close friend of mine. But when he gets done with work, he's like, all right, I'm going to go hang out with friends. I want to go do, hang out with friends. I want to go do this. Like, I want to go be by people.
Yeah.
And not that I dislike that. I love being by people, and I just love being around people.
Yeah.
But I'm not the kind of guy that's like going to be around crowds to like fill my cup. I'm the kind of guy that's like, all right, I'm going to go home. I'm going to, put my feet up, watch a TV show with, my wife, or maybe go golf with my wife, cuddle my dogs. Like that's how I define, right? So like I would consider myself an introvert. But that said, I've gotten into sales. It's kind of been, what's led me down this path of starting this podcast, being here at TPG. And I've done I've ultimately been able to create a really nice career for myself in sales. And, most people, they would think like, you're an introvert. Like, how is that possible?
You have to talk to people every day.
You do. And so I want to dive into that a little bit for those of you who maybe are an introvert. Like, how does this affect you as a salesperson? How can you be an exceptional salesperson as an introvert? And I would actually argue that the best salespeople are introverts. And we'll get into that in a little bit here as to why. But Jeff, would you consider yourself, like you've had, a tremendous career, right? And I have no doubt that, as you continue to grow here at TPG, you're going to build a really, really amazing career even beyond what you've already built. Would you consider yourself more of an introvert or an extrovert? Let's start there.
Yeah, definitely introvert, 100%. You can, my friends, family will attest to that, right? So I think this conversation kind of was sparked from, how do you be successful as a not an extreme introvert, but an introvert, an obvious introvert. We'll call it that. How do you excel in sales? And I think I mentioned to you that throughout my sales career, I've been in sales for over 20 years. 15 of those years was in technology or software, and in my career, I've been fortunate enough to work for organizations that have basically put out the best product on the market at that time. And because you believe, or it is the best product on the market, that your passion and enthusiasm is genuine, and people see that, and that creates trust in sales, right? And I think when you have that trust, that perceived trust in place early on, they're going to want to work with you, which leads ultimately to a lot of sales. So I think that's kind of why, like you say, introverts tend to do well in a sales career.
Yeah, and I would say I almost look at it as like being an introvert myself, like I genuinely want to get to know the person, right? It's not just surface level, right? And I'm not saying all extroverts are surface level, because that's certainly not the truth. Some extroverts are just really outgoing and they just love being around people, and they're genuinely like they get to know people.
Yeah.
But as a salesperson, right? Like oftentimes people think about sales, right? They think, oh, I got to talk to people all the time. I got to be on it all the time. I got to be networking all the time. I got to be out in front of people all the time. And it's like, yeah, you do to some extent. But like as an introvert, I'm like, man, I genuinely want to get to know somebody, and like I don't need a million friends. I just need a handful that I'm really close to. Like that's how I feel.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. And you and I probably both know plenty of people that they just can't get enough friends, right?
Yeah.
They could have 30 people in their circle, but they still want more. They're still going after more. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And so I would just say, like, from an introvert extrovert perspective, I really feel like, and by the way, don't take this as, if you are an introvert, certainly don't take this as an excuse to say like, oh man, like I'm not going to be in sales because I got to go talk to people. Like, no, like there's something about getting out of your comfort zone. For me, it was, talking to people, getting in front of people, speaking on stages, things of that nature. Like you should be uncomfortable doing those things. So like if you are an introvert listening to this, like, certainly you cannot use that as an excuse. Say, I'm an introvert, so I'm just going to only make 5 phone calls a day and talk to only the people I know. Like, no. You got to get uncomfortable, right? You got to get uncomfortable.
100%. 100% agreed. Yeah, and I mean, I'll even say more, like, advice to somebody who's been in sales or thinking about getting in sales. I go back to the companies that I've been fortunate enough to work for and the product that they put out. Do your research. Do your research on those companies. Look at reviews, because if you're able to do enough research and learn that, hey, this company actually is putting out a really good product, and I'm going to feel really good, talking to people about that product. In other words, I'm going to put them in a better spot, than they were prior to implementing that product or service. It helps a ton, because if you believe in it, again, there's that level of trust that you can create.
That is key right there too, man. I love the fact that you brought up, the belief in the product, right? Because as a salesperson, like if I'm selling something that I genuinely don't use, or I genuinely don't believe in, or I'm just selling it because I, whatever, you can make a great commission off of it, and it's like not something that you genuinely think can help somebody, like you're gonna have a really difficult time selling that, because it'll show to people, and you're gonna be pushy, right? And that's not good. People see through that, especially nowadays.
Agreed. It's not natural.
It's not natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I agree. Like I've being at the Pavement Group, right? That's where we're at. We're at the Pavement Group. We sell asphalt concrete nationwide, and ultimately we help facility managers and construction folks get back home and quicker and with less headaches than working with anyone else. And that's, I genuinely believe that. Now, are we perfect? No.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
But are we every day striving to complete exactly what we have set out to do, and that's to get them home quicker and with less headaches and around their family and around, the kids' soccer practice, whatever they want to do, go play with their dog, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Get out on the boat. Like we are every single day. We're looking at our systems. We're getting with our team. As salespeople, if we don't know an answer, we're like, hey, I don't know the answer. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know the answer, but I'm going to go get with somebody on my team and loop them in on this conversation and get an answer for you. And that's what we strive to do every single day.
Yeah, that's right.
And I genuinely believe that. That's why I've been here since the very beginning, and I believe in it so much.
Yeah, I mean, and it shows too, right? Which, by the way, I would have pegged you as an extrovert, while I was getting to know you.
Sure.
Before I got to know you, based on the podcasts that I've watched. So I think maybe something probably flipped a little bit.
Sure.
Just based on your experience and the things that you've gone through. But like you said, ultimately you're an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it's going to be. But yeah, it goes back to what I talked about a little bit ago. Like in your mind, you're putting people in a better spot if they partner with the Pavement Group, right? And again, that's that comfort and level of peace, I guess, at when you work that hard to bring people on board the Pavement Group. So I'm with you on that.
So as an introvert in your previous sales roles, like what types of relationships did you build with people? Like getting to know you, like you seem like a very relational person, right? You're very consultative in your sales approach.
Yeah.
Which is what we believe at TPG, at the Pavement Group. It's what we believe at One Team Media, Top Contractor School. It's what we believe on this podcast. We believe in relationships. We believe in the long-term time horizon. And we believe in a consultative approach. So as an introvert, is that something that's really helped you build relationships?
I mean, I believe so. If I go way back early in my sales career, I probably took that consultative approach just by accident because it's in by nature, right? So the whole idea is, asking questions like, what are you doing today to get that done? How do you feel about that? What would it do for you if you were able to change that or improve this or improve that? And then all of a sudden they're having a conversation with you, they're opening up, and you're realizing, in the position that you're in, that, oh my gosh, what I represent can really, really help you. You haven't said it yet, right? You're just doing that discovery, but in your mind, and then it just kind of goes from there,
I love it, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I truly believe that. Like, I know I keep saying it, but I truly believe that introverts can be some of the best salespeople. I really do. Like, I've met some amazing extroverts too, and I've met some extroverts who do come off as surface level, right? They come off as surface level, and like
they can, yes.
Like, and
they
again,
can.
Not that everyone is like that, but I have. And so, what advice would you give to maybe an introvert who is, almost sees himself as like, hey, I kind of want to get into sales. I want to try the sales thing, but like, I'm an introvert. Like, I don't know if I want to get that uncomfortable. Like, what advice would you give to folks like that?
Going back to exactly what I said, right? Doing a lot of research, finding that company, finding that product that you can get behind, like 100% get behind, not just a little bit, not 50%, not 90%, just 100%. That if they implement that service or product, they're going to be in a better spot. And then just go out there and start having those conversations. People pick up on genuineness. They want that, right?
Especially nowadays, I feel like.
Yeah, right? Especially in sales, because it has a bad connotation, right? So that's the biggest advice. And if let's say you're 2-3 years into your career and things aren't going kind of the way you want them to, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, I go back to the same thing. Maybe it's the product or the company you represent. It might not be you.
Values,
right?
Man.
Yeah.
Values.
That's right.
Yeah, the advice I'd give to that too is like, I kind of hinted at it and said it earlier, but like, don't let being an introvert like limit you, and get uncomfortable. Like just because you're an introvert, that doesn't mean that doesn't give you an excuse to be uncomfortable or to not get uncomfortable rather. Right. So like that doesn't mean that, oh, I'm just going to sit back and, I'm not going to make the calls today. I'm not going to go into sales, even though I kind of feel like I want to, or I'm not going to take up that role or not going to be at that company just because I don't really like talking to people. Like, no, if you genuinely talk to the right people and you talk like, again, you're selling the right thing, you genuinely believe in it. Like you are like, I guarantee you, like you'll get uncomfortable. You're going to get uncomfortable making those calls, talking to those people, but like you will enjoy it after some time. That's really, you kind of alluded to me with me. You said, I thought you were an extreme extrovert. I'm like, no, man. I'm not at all, actually. I fill my cup by going home and being, with the people closest to me, right? And ultimately, that's kind of how I define it. But at the same time, I've never used it as like just because I'm an introvert and I don't want to talk to people right now, it doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
No. You got to get outside your comfort zone. Do not let it limit you. And if you are an extrovert, man, I would just say like, good on you. That's great, man. You have an opportunity. You have an amazing opportunity. You love being around people. That's how you fill your cup, man. Like I would just encourage you to, again, find a place that, provides a product or service that you truly believe in. Like you have a gift. I really believe that extreme extroverts have a gift of just like being around people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I've worked with several extreme extroverts, and they, alongside them, representing the same product, and they were extremely successful. Did we have the same approach? Probably not, but they had the approach that worked for them.
That's key right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to find the approach that works for you.
Yep.
Right. Well, I love it, Jeff. This has been a good discussion, man. I think it's really relevant to anyone, who is in or going into sales. Because again, I think a lot of people really they say I'm an introvert and just kind of limit themselves on that.
I bet they do. It probably happens more than we know.
Yeah.
Right?
And I would encourage anyone who's watching this right now, like if you are an introvert, do not let it limit you. It is a gift. And if you are an extrovert, man, you have an incredible gift to just walk up and talk to people. Like that's great. But as an introvert, you can learn those things. You can learn them by getting uncomfortable, and you will build deep relationships. So, any final thoughts on this topic?
I suppose we could probably end it by I had a mentor for years, and he ended every sales call with the same thing, and it was this: remember, you will never ever regret doing the very best you can every single day. Dude. He ended every sales call with that. And think about the words behind that, right? And if it's somebody, he's your mentor, somebody you respect, it resonates. Like, and he usually said those words on a Friday at about 5 p.m. because that's when the sales call was every week. And you're like, yeah, just do the very best, right? And you get there Monday morning and you got those words in your head from your mentor, and it works.
So. Dude, that's all you can ask of people, right? Right?
Yeah.
You learn, you fail sometimes, you learn, you grow.
Do your very best.
Do your best, man.
Yep, that's right.
I love it. Appreciate the words of wisdom, Jeff. We're going to have to get you on this podcast more. You've got a lot of wisdom up there that I think we can unlock and that you can, bring value to folks.
I appreciate that.
And, dude, I just got to say one quick shout out, and I've said this on a few other podcasts and to our team, but when this dude jumped on our team, when he got onboarded, it was about probably 2 weeks before he started at TPG. You called me and you said, "Hey man, I want to do some research. I want to do some homework before I start. My official start date's on whatever it was, April 8th or something like that." So you called me in March. You said, "I want to do some homework before I get there on the 8th, and I really want to make sure that the avenues and the prospects that I'm really looking at are the right customers. So like, can you give me a little guidance?" So I did. I gave some guidance, and he said, "All right, I'm going to come to my first day with a few folks that we can look into." I said, "Perfect." So you showed up on day one. We got some of your paperwork and stuff out of the way, and then you pulled up this list of these prospects and all the details and you just did all your homework on all these prospects, and you said, "Are these good fits for what we do?" And I said, "Bro, yeah, these are great. These are I've never seen anyone do homework like this in my life. This is amazing."
Well, I mean, like when we're talking about personality traits, right? Like being an introvert, I'm also extremely organized.
Yeah.
That's how my mind thinks. And I just wanted to make sure I was going to hit the ground running, off to the right start, basically.
Well, it's half the battle in being a salesperson is being organized. Most should say, I don't know about most, but a lot
it's helpful.
Lot of salespeople are
helpful.
not organized, and the fact that you're that organized, like, dude, and that prepared and that ready to just hit the ground running, like I was very impressed, and it shows in the results that you've already produced within a month. So.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks.
Of course. So with that, appreciate you, Jeff. We'll get you on here again soon. We'll unlock more of that knowledge you've got up there, all that wisdom. But with that, guys, we appreciate you for jumping in. If you are an introvert and you got questions, or you're an extrovert and you've got a gift, man, both are gifts, really. But reach out, let me know, and let me know if it's something that like you've struggled with as a salesperson, or you're trying to get into sales and you're like, oh man, I'm an introvert. I don't know if I can do this. Like, no, like I really encourage you to look a little deeper. Like it's a gift, and I believe that it is, and I am, and you are too, an introvert, and it's really helped. So with that, reach out, and we appreciate you guys for jumping on and listening to this podcast. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.